am a park ranger in the Southwest American desert. One night, volunteers at one of my parks called us to report a still smoldering and smoking car in one of our remote campsites. It was normal, or at least not unheard of, for stolen cars to get abandoned and burned in that section of the park. We went to look, gawked for a couple minutes at the site, and waited for the fire department. After a couple minutes of standing there, it became very apparent that there was a body in the front seat of the car. After an additional look around, food wrappers, rope, and numerous other strange items were found. It seemed like whoever was in the front seat had been bound and shot. Police came and cleaned it up, but didn't find any answers beyond the obvious. We now refer to that section of the park as the haunted site. I was sitting in my room after getting out of work on the second floor of our apartment building. My little brother is downstairs watching TV, and our dog is in the hallway outside my bedroom door, sleeping. All of a sudden, the dog starts making all kinds of racket, jumping, barking, clacking nails, and howling. I go to get up to see what's going on, and I hear a deep male voice say, "Aw, that's a good girl." It didn't sound like my little brother, so I go, "Oh, you're home early," thinking that it's my dad's friend, who's also our roommate, as I open the door. As soon as I'm out there is no one at all, but the dog, wagging her tail, staring at the empty end of the hallway. My little brother comes upstairs to yell at me for getting his dog riled up. When I told him that it wasn't me, he said he heard the same voice, thinking it was me or our roommate. We did a once-over of the house with my butterfly knife and his BB gun, and there was nobody. It still gives me the spooks to this day. I was pumping gas late one night in my college town. The way the gas station was set up, there are pumps on either side of a convenience store. This woman came out of the store and was finishing her conversation with the attendant about how to pump gas and use her rewards card. Just as I'm about done filling up, I notice this car pull up between her Jeep and the store. The driver gets out, opens the woman's passenger side door quietly, and takes her purse. He then looks up, sees that I've been watching him, puts his index finger to his mouth, before getting in his car and speeding off. At this point, I'm freaking out. I get the first 3 digits of his plate. By now, I'm done filling up, so I put the pump back and think about how I'm going to tell this woman that her purse was just stolen. At the time, I couldn't believe this was real, happening right in front of me, so I just got in my car, pulled around, and told her that I just saw her purse get stolen. I also told her that the first 3 letters of his plate were XYZ, etc., and maybe the attendants can use the security cams to get the rest. Then I drove back to my dorm. When I was younger, around 10 or 12 years old, I had an anxious obsession with checking dark corners, just to make sure nothing was there. One night, I went to get a glass of water from the kitchen after waking up. For some reason, the sliding door to the kitchen is closed, which is odd, but not something unheard of in my house. As I'm getting water, I look to the corner. It looks particularly dark, but there's nothing that I can see, and I'm trying to break this habit of checking dark corners. So instead of turning on the lights to check, I instead wander back to bed in my half-asleep state and close the kitchen door on my way out. That night, my house was robbed. Whoever did it got inside from the kitchen patio door. Without ever realizing it, I may have looked an intruder directly in the eyes as he was robbing my house. Years after this event, I still can't go to sleep without leaving all the lights on in every room of the house. I was driving home from work at 2 a.m. I'm a nurse, and I live in a small city. The roads were totally deserted, and it was a freezing night. I don't live far from work, maybe a couple of miles. I'm driving down a residential street around the corner from my house, and I see a man lying face down in the street. Now remember, I'm a nurse. My first thought was, great, better help this guy up. I was coming off a long shift, and falls happen all the time. As I slowed down the car, I suddenly realized what a bad idea that was. What if he'd been attacked or something? I'm a 100-pound woman, and I don't carry any weapons. I thought I should do something to help the guy, so I called 911 as I drove past him. While I was stopped at the light, I explained to the dispatcher that there was a man in the road who might need assistance. All of a sudden, I hear 2 loud bangs from the driver's side window. I looked over and screamed. A man was pounding on my window and jiggling the handle of my locked car. I looked in the rearview mirror and saw that there was no man lying in the street. Still on the phone with 911, I screamed that I was scared to the dispatcher and floored it through the red light. I quickly told him what had happened, and even though I was right by my house, he told me to keep driving. After a few minutes, I had calmed down, and he told me to loop back around. I pulled over down the road from my house and stayed in the car. I didn't see the man anywhere, so I got off the phone with the dispatcher, who told me he was sending a police car to cruise the area. As I gather up my things, I do a final scan of the area, and I see the man. He is walking down my street with 2 other men. I hunched way down in my car until they were far down the road, and then bolted into my house.